Okay, I'll just get my low out of the way because it definitely would take precedence and priority over everything else. But yesterday I went to Coach Jansen's funeral. And believe me, throughout that entire thing, I was just holding back tears. But for once, I can definitely tell you this kind of low is a good kind of low. Because, it's a funeral. You gotta, how would being at a funeral not emotionally resonate with you? And, my high was the fact that throughout the entire service and everything like that, I got to see a lot of old friends. Gave them hugs. I got to see members of Coach Jansen's family, particularly the people I went to school with. Shook their hands, gave them a hug, told them hope everything's okay. All that stuff. It was great. In fact, this is literally emotionally the deepest valley to the highest mountaintop, So it was great. And obviously going to wishing the family well and everything, that was my act of kindness too. Although, before I talk about what I was going to talk about today, I'm just going to tell you right now what happened. Literally all throughout, yesterday and a little bit the day before, I was hearing all sorts of crazy things about we're supposed to get, the snowstorm of the century. Freezing rain, a foot of snow, the whole enchilada. I'm looking outside right now, nothing happened. Not a thing happened. Yeah, there was snow on the ground, but that was there already. In fact, I'm pretty sure some of it's all melted and whatever. I think we got hosed. Because there's the nor'easter or something like that or something we didn't get a darn thing. Nothing. So, yeah, that's your laugh for actually part of the time. Honestly, considering what's been happening in the last couple of days, I think we could all use a bit of a pick-me-up, probably in the form of laughter. And if you're not looking for laughter, you probably shouldn't be watching this video then, because what I'm about to talk about is something very funny. Good morning. Happy Thursday, everyone. So, let me just say this. Johnny Knoxville, Steve-O, Chris Pontius, Dave England, Preston Lacey, Danger Aaron, Wee Man, Bam Margera, the late Ryan Dunn. These are the stars of Jackass. And with Jackass Forever coming out today, needless to say, I had to talk about these movies. And it's so funny too. When I was a kid, I was deathly terrified of swearing. Absolutely terrified of it. I actually once called my brother I'll never forget what happened. I think I was 5 or 7 years old. And I called my brother the A word or something. And at the time what would happen is, it happened on a Saturday. And our babysitter would take us to our father's shop, because after my father got out of work, we would go to church. After I did that, I'm like, oh no. Hal's going to tell, Hal's my brother. My brother's going to tell my dad. And my dad's going to kill me. Now, obviously I'm still here, so that didn't happen. But it was at that moment where I'm I will never, ever, 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 ever swear again. And for a good 10, 12 years, I didn't. Really. Seriously, it was so bad I couldn't even say the word crap until I was 13 years old. I'm not kidding. I was that horrified of it. So needless to say, years ago when the first Jackass movie came out, I immediately saw the title. Wait, because I'll never forget seeing the promo for the first Jackass movie in the theater. It was basically Wee Man being able to literally actually if I can just demonstrate. He basically took his leg and he kicked himself in the face. And that was like the promo for the first Jackass movie. And I'm like, wait, that's a movie? And it's titled something that I should never ever say aloud. Needless to say, I didn't watch it. And, I didn't really think much of it until they made a sequel called Jackass Number 2. And for those who don't know, Number 2, yes, is a metaphor for going to the bathroom. And not from the front either. The point is, these movies became vastly popular very quickly. And, it's such a simple concept. And such a stupid one, too. I mean, you basically have these guys that are doing wildly crazy, stupid things for the audience's amusement. To the point where you legit worry about their safety and health. But not so much where if it strikes the right nerve, you're not going to hold back your laughter. Because that's pretty much what the Jackass movies do. That's what Jackass is entirely. Just, let's be honest. The movies is essentially the show. With a much bigger budget. But it's a formula that works. And looking back at it now, I think I'll never forget when the Nostalgia Critic did his review on The Master of Disguise. When he mentioned how slapstick is funny because someone is suffering. And what are the Jackass movies but a very extreme form of slapstick? And it works. I mean, someone has to suffer. Now, sometimes in a movie, you could have it so the reaction of suffering is delayed, or perhaps give us a huge payoff at the end of the movie, maybe. But this is Jackass, and clearly this is real life. If these guys are in pain, you don't need to wait for a reaction. You're going to get it almost instantaneously. And it's hilarious that way. It is. I mean, I really could go into great detail just from the first two movies alone. What bits legit make me laugh. The puppet show, the beehive limousine, the alligator tightrope, rental car demolition derby. Honestly, if you're asking me what the weakest bits of these movies are, no offense to Johnny Knoxville, it's the bad grandpa movie. It's the bad grandpa stuff. That was the one thing I always thought was the least, it was funny, but considering that we just saw, people walking through a place called Electric Avenue, which was essentially a hallway that was lined with cattle prods and tasers, if it's sort of a way as a means for the audience to sort of recuperate a little bit, I guess that works. I just never really thought that part particularly was funny. Although, speaking of Electric Avenue, that moves on to Jackass 3D. This came out in 2010, years after the second one. I was a sophomore in college when it came out. And here's the thing, it's always been my deepest regret that I've never been able to see these movies in the theater. Because, obviously, the first two Jackass movies came out well before I was 17 years old, so no R-rated movies for me. And then came 2010, when I'm clearly over the age of 17, but I don't have access to a car or a ride. No access to a car or ride, no way I'm getting to a movie theater to see the movie proper. C'est la vie. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I've seen these movies a bunch of times over the years. And to this day, they all still make me laugh my head off. I'm not going to bother. I'm not even going to remotely bother to, explain otherwise. These movies are hilarious. They're absolutely stupid. And by all accounts, you're thinking, these actually worked? And they were able to gross money at the box office to the point where they had like an entire film series? Well, yeah, they did. And it works. It really works. And you really do feel for, a lot of the guys who are involved in Jackass. Obviously Johnny Knoxville, he is the ringleader. Needless to say. A lot of people follow Steve-O just because Steve-O's actually been through a lot over the years. Like, full disclosure, he was battling and suffering from addiction from the first two Jackass movies. And the third one was the first movie he did completely 100% sober. And believe it or not, in spite of everything that was happening to him in that movie, do I even need to mention T-Ball? It was the best movie Steve-O's ever done. Really, it's true, it is. Obviously I have to talk about the late Ryan Dunn. Because he definitely had a lot of great bits in all three movies. And he probably, needless to say, if he was alive, he would have been like this upcoming one, Jackass Forever. For those of you who don't know, Ryan Dunn was, for lack of a better word, a speed freak. Basically, he liked to drive cars really, 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 really fast. Stupidly fast, mind you. So, going too fast, you crash, that's just how it is. It was very sad. Honestly, after that, I didn't think there'd ever be another Jackass movie. Here's the thing. I do want to see this movie in the theater, but because of the pandemic and everything, it's kind of, hard for me to really go and do that. I want to, but a part of me is just worried about how, am I really going to finally see a Jackass movie? And with the pandemic completely destroying my wanting to go see a movie anymore, is it even worth going? Let's be honest. This movie is going to be popular enough to easily be seen on TV. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if you already have people pirating it and putting it online right now. Let's be honest, everybody does that. In fact, full disclosure, that's how I saw the third Jackass movie. I just saw it on my computer in college, just watching everything. It was great. I think I had Domino's Pizza that night too. That was really cool. But, yeah. As crazy, stupid as these movies are, they really are a lot of fun. In fact, much like everyone else who's seen these movies will tell you, the worst part of all these movies is when the movie ends. Which makes a lot of sense. We've been laughing our heads off forever at this point. Sometimes even holding back tears, we're laughing so hard. And, the movie ends with a sort of big explosion-related thing happening with the late, great Rip Taylor showing up and, throwing, confetti everywhere. And just like that, the movie was over. And after I saw the third one, I told myself, you know what? I may not have seen these movies in the theater, but I will forever be happy I saw them at all. You know, it never really occurred to me that the Jackass movies really could, be even considered for S tier. Or the Jackass as a franchise would be considered an S tier at all. I mean, let's be honest. No one really ever knew. Like, after the second Jackass movie, it was years before the third one was even announced. And needless to say, it was well over a decade before this one was announced. So I don't know if I can quite give it an S tier, but for all the memories, all the guys on that show and the series, everyone that made those movies together, A tier for sure. Jackass is easily an A tier, which would make sense. Jackass does have the letter A twice in that word. Man, am I really glad that on day 1300 I decided I was no longer going to worry about cursing if it's actually the name of a franchise or a show. Because honestly, talking about Jackass as a whole, it's great. It is. And if you really are in the mood for if you really are looking for a good laugh, give it a watch. I mean, you're going to find a few bits that really aren't your thing. Absolutely. I mean, I just mentioned the bad grandpa stuff. I thought that was funny, but it didn't have me laugh my head off like anything else did. So, you're going to find some things that, are going to make you laugh your head off uncontrollably. And if something doesn't make you laugh your head off, well, you can use this as a time to recover. Because trust me, you're going to go right back to laughing soon enough. Like, favorite, share, hit the subscribe button, follow me on the social platform, information YouTube. I'm very home in this video for all of you guys to watch and enjoy for today. I'm hoping you have a wonderful, wonderful Thursday. And remember, for any of you guys who want to talk or chat, we're going to be here to let you know. Always have your back. Take care and make good choices. See ya.